everybody. Welcome back to the Bible Show. Today is going to be, I think, a very important topic to discuss as to how to really improve society as a whole. And today we're going to be talking about how to control YNs. And if anyone doesn't know who or what YNs are or what it stands for, you guys can look it up for yourself. Basically, it's sort of like very fierce young black men that are from the hood, from the projects. Um, they have a reputation, not just a reputation, that are very violent or can be very violent or can just on a dime um, really cause a lot of destruction and just sort of have a temperament and personality that is not really conducive for building a stable society. And it's really a shame because really back in the day I was listening to I used to listen to like Thomas Sowell. I'm like a black economist, and besides him, just like a lot of sentiment, a lot of historical evidence, a lot of historical data that black men used to be one of the hardest working and best minority classes out there. But we've in America at least, black men have sort of fallen to the wayside, and it's a shame that there's a lot of violence between YNs. YNs are killing each other, and YNs are also killing other white people, like white men, white women, mostly white men. It happens in the news a lot, and it's really a shame. It's really a shame. But um, if we break it down in terms of human nature, I think the YNs can be easily controlled. Um, I have experienced myself. I know some YNs. I know some YNs that are currently changing towards just being regular folk in society. Um, I myself, I think I have a really strong affinity with black men and women. I feel like, I guess, to me, I have a connection just because, like black men, which we'll dive into more later, have a pretty, like a not too bad understanding of the game and women, and they have this confidence about them. They sort of they have power over like women to some degree just because of like what they choose to perceive about women and choose to understand about women. And I always find myself really close and tight knit with the black community, like at work or just around just being around like black communities. I always feel really close to black people. I is it I'm not sure it's far fetched to say that I consider myself black. I know I know with my skin color I can never truly fit in, but I just always felt really close to like my black colleagues compared to like my white colleagues at work. Sometimes nowadays it's more even. I feel like it's more so even um, as I've sort of developed as an individual. But yeah, always been really close to black folk, and I've been able to just sort of just by chance and just by great fortune befriend some YNs and really just learn more about like how they think, how they operate, um, what really ticks them off, and just sort of the dynamics of their life, like how they live, how they operate, and I think besides that, just if a lot of people understood YNs better, um, they'd be a lot easier to control, and they could be sort of, with all due respect, a non-factor and sort of damaging society because that's sort of what they do at the moment. They, on a micro scale, they cause death and carnage, and on a macro scale, it really damages the positive vibes in society. So the thing about YNs, what a lot of people don't understand about black men in general. Black men in general, actually, what people do understand about black men in general is that black men have power. They have the physical strength. They're probably the strongest out of all the three races, which I still hold as a representation of like the our triunal God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and which race is what. Um, Maybe we can talk about that later. But black men are probably the strongest out of all the races. So people understand that black men have power. Um, I think what a lot of people don't really appreciate or understand is that black men have game too. They have a different stance or different another source of power. Have game. Sort of we have just game, just like basically how to talk to women. A lot of black men have really supreme confidence when it comes to talking with women. With women, they go for what they want. They don't really show any meekness or any sort of hesitation. They're very confident, and they just overall they have like this masculinity about them that I think some women find like on a baseline more attractive than like average guys from other races. And an interesting thing about game is that as we discussed before, is that well, an interesting thing about black men with game is that black men are very are intelligent enough, well, in terms of games, to come to the understanding that women are not necessarily attracted to money. Even though there was that Beyonce song where it's like, what is that? It's the Scrub song. It's like, no, I don't want your number. A guy with a ride can't. A guy with no ride can't get no love from me, which is actually not the case. I'm sure there's a lot of black guys that are very successful with women. They don't are very successful with women and they don't have a ride. They don't really have anything going on for them besides their game, their confidence. I think black guys really understand that all you need is a place to lay your head on and some game, and you can truly pull like a lot of women to be very satisfied and very happy in their life or in the, like for a couple years or something like that. And I think another problem that we have in society is that people like are a little bit like people like a prescription that people give to black men or just like the homeless people in general is they tell them to get a job. And why this is not effective, uh, not really effective for a black male, is because black men sort of understand that money, just with the culture, money draws envy and attention. So money is in the hood, it's probably gonna get you shot and killed. Money doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna have more women or more game. It might give you access to maybe higher quality women as you travel more and get more access to like different kinds of women outside of the hood. But just getting a job, you're getting a good job or being really productive for society does not mean you're gonna be happier, have more women, and so it's not very effective, sort of for black men. It's not really effective to tell black men to really get a job because like anyone with sort of understanding a game, anyone with sort of understanding a woman sort of understands that women aren't really attracted to money. She, of course, it's her role to sort of provide for her, and she sort of understands that because it's her. She understands her role to be beautiful, and with how much attention and just everything about a woman with just her fragility, her beauty, like how much is dedicated towards like child rearing, etc. It's like a guy, of course, has to, or really should work um, because of his strength. It's the natural gender roles that we have, but it's something just that any guy with understanding of a game knows. Any guy with like understanding of game knows that money is not the end all be all. But I guess that opens up sort of the interesting dynamic we have to control YNs. Um, so YNs, so YNs, you know, the young black men, the young fierce black men, they have the power, they have the game. I don't see black men very discontented with society or depressed or anything, but they lack the money. And so this is where I think a lot of like welfare programs, unemployment programs. I think overall, it's just like, for example, when like maybe black individual like a YN asks you for money or asks you for some sort of help, don't hesitate to really help the YN. Don't hesitate to help that individual. Even though it may feel like on a micro scale you're being taken advantage of, on a macro scale by giving someone something, you essentially gain a bit of control over that person. And this is something that INFP sort of, it's basically a classic rule book, it's just sort of a classic, it's a simple tactic that INFPs deploy. Like, for example, think about Jeffrey Epstein, who just gave women to famous men along with Ghislaine Maxwell, and sort of he used that aspect to control them. He just got dirt on them. You know, he controlled them through, of course, their desire for pleasure, and just giving free stuff to sort of the black community, really pouring aid and welfare into black communities, I think can really subdue the YNs and really put them at ease. Just really take away their knack for violence, because once you have sort of the money or a comfortable lifestyle, I don't think there's really any need to really be fierce or be violent out there. When I say that, it kind of seems a little bit wishy-washy, but a lot of, like, when I think we've seen this story with rappers, black men that are rappers that are famous and successful, and YNs, when black men get money, and of course they already have the power in the game, their knack for violence seems like it goes down for the most part. Of course, there's some rappers out there that still, like shoot and kidnap people and other stuff like that. But overall, with YNs get money, their knack for violence goes down and down and down and down. Basically, that's the natural correlation and trend as we've seen with black rappers. Besides that, some other talking points to mention is that sort of, I think, like the violence of a man can maybe, there might be some correlation, which is how much they love their woman. I'm not sure how much, like, for example, I think one of the reasons why a white man or an Asian man doesn't really resort to too much violence is because they have more to lose than a black man. Like an Asian guy doesn't want to really come off like dangerous to an Asian woman because I guess he cares about her, and a white man sure doesn't want to come off as dangerous to a white woman because that would be pretty bad. So I guess on both sides there's something to lose, but black men seem to have no problem coming off as fierce or dangerous. I think there's some degree, I really do believe that there's some degree where they don't really, they lack the love for the woman that white and Asian men have, and that's another vector that I don't think people just speak on enough. And I guess it's not too important to speak on because it's really hard to control. Well, in the past, present, or future, maybe when Christianity really dominated black culture, more so than it is today, maybe there's more love for women. Black men had more love for their women, but in the culture we have nowadays, like in the future too, I don't see really like just, and we've seen in countries like Africa, it's just like with just the factions, the divide, with everything going on, there's so much instability among the black nations in Africa. It really begs the question: how much love do black men have for their women? And I think that aspect, like as I said before, it's good to be able to understand and conceptualize it, but in the future, in the far, far future, or in the near future, I don't think that aspect will change. I don't think you can really make black men love their woman more. They usually, like a lot of black men, like, well, I'm not sure if that's important to talk about, but like black women and black men, especially with black women not wanting to talk to black men, there seems to be a strong disconnect. and that really adds to just sort of the part of the nurture or nature of black men that they really have nothing to lose. That's how they operate. So that's definitely um, I would say there's the best aspect to control YNs. I would say when they ask for money, don't hesitate to give them money. Um, and I think that's a big problem is that a lot of people I think are a little bit, with all due respect, are a little bit like scared to give their money. Whether maybe you're a little bit tight-fisted with your money, or like you think people are taking advantage of you. It's actually a very easy aspect to control. You see a lot of neighborhoods, like in West Philly, like where I live, like nearby those areas, like Philly, West Philly, North Philly. Um, a lot of black, a lot of the black population have been like very much subdued by unemployment and the welfare program. I think that's really calm. I think that's really just subdued a lot of black people, a lot of the black population. But for YNs, I'm not sure if they can really truly apply for the unemployment program or welfare program yet. And so when you sort of have nothing to lose, but you have the power, and especially when you're young, I'll lend some credit to like established thought. Like when you're young and you don't really know the game, even though black men do have a reputation for understanding the game, um, you sort of have nothing to lose because all you have is the power. And I guess what you do with your power as a black man is sort of a resource to violence, sort of just like outpowering each other through pure force. And so really, I guess that's another aspect for YN. I think YNs, with all due respect, can easily be seduced by women. Um, definitely be like very easily seduced by some easy lays, and but just really just stimulating black neighborhoods and black communities with just a lot of free stuff like some sort of food drive, food program, and I seen this in Harrisburg where I used to live. There used to be like a food drive or a food community for like homeless people, and the problem there was that I think the same problem we have in Los Angeles that we have. Actually, I don't live in Los Angeles, but the same problem that's going on in Los Angeles is that it sort of enables homelessness and enables like drugs and everything like that. But it really does taper down the violence. Like in the main city of Harrisburg, where they really give out stuff, there's not really much violence there. But as soon as you get to like Camp Hill, Allison Hill, sort of like the place where it's like a no man's land. There's like no really welfare programs or like benefits. Well, besides like the government programs that you can apply for, there's really no like safety net. So it's all about like it's really like a battle of power. And there's some violence that happens there. It's not as worse as Philly, like North Philly, but there's still some violence there. Like not the not as, of course not the safest place to be, Allison or Camp Hill in Harrisburg. I would try to avoid that place if you can. But definitely the best way to control YNs is just really give them free stuff. Um, I think it's definitely gonna hurt society to some degree, with just maybe the just sort of the enablement it creates. But I think it's the best way to control the violence and force and just the innate power in YNs, just by sort of um, disabling YNs by giving them comfort, which is like we can introduce more with a stronger welfare program, a stronger unemployment program. And the bad thing about that is it's probably gonna damage sort of like more white communities as some people might rely on the welfare or unemployment program. But it's the best way to control YNs because they have the power, which cops are sort of oftentimes too slow to respond to their power. YNs, they're sort of lacking the game a little bit because they're young. Black women don't want to talk to YNs for the most part. If I'm being fair, like the pretty white girls, they usually prefer the light skinned black girls usually want to talk to don't want to talk to them for the most part. There's some guys out there that do well, and they don't have the money as well, and so they're really a lot of just of course as people already know people with nothing to lose. So definitely if you can't really engineer neighborhoods and societies to stop ghettos and bad places from forming just because of how like the grid layout of the city and how as we get to the outskirts of the city there's less and less support coming from the center because the money is all in the center. So of course the outskirts of the city are going to be a little drier because no one is really coming there to import money, and it's just all you're left with is violent people. um, the best way to just really subdue that population is to just really give them free stuff, really enable, like, have more government programs. And it's probably the best way to control YNs.